Now let's take a breath and really look at what we're facing here, because I'll be honest, sitting here looking at the data, I still have those pre-match nerves that only a European night in Lisbon can give you. On April 7th, Arsenal walk into the Alvalade, not just as favourites, but as a team carrying the ultimate tactical cheat code. But, and this is the bit that should worry sporting fans, there is a hidden vacuum in Lisbon that suggests this tie could actually be over before it even reaches the Emirates for that return leg on April 15th. This detail matters more than people realise, and I'll explain exactly why that vacuum exists in just a moment. We've reached the quarter-finals of the 2025-26 Champions League, and the narrative stakes, they couldn't be higher. Now, it's a fact that neither of these clubs has ever lifted this trophy, but the version of Arsenal we are seeing right now, it feels fundamentally different from the side that suffered in Lisbon back in 2024. This isn't just a game of football, it's a high-stakes chess match where Mikel Arteta seems to have already seen the opponent's opening move. The psychological advantage of Victor Gyökeres returning to his old hunting ground is the headline everyone wants to talk about, right? But the real story, the one that actually decides the game, lies in the structural integrity of these two teams. Here is the part most viewers missed, and later I'm going to show you why this specific tactical shift matters more than the goals themselves. Can Sporting's high-risk, high-reward system survive the absence of their most vital structural player, especially against the most clinical Arsenal side we've seen in 2 decades? That's the tension defining this first leg. You look at a Sporting side that is lethal at home, 5 wins from 5 in Lisbon this season, yet they're running into an Arsenal defence that has conceded only 5 goals in 10 matches. Honestly, this surprised me when I first saw the numbers. Even as an analyst, that statistic feels almost unbelievable. It's the irresistible force meeting the immovable object, but in this case, the force is missing its engine. To understand the reality here, we have to look at the context of early April 2026. A first Champions League semi-final in years is within reaching distance, and like every one of you watching, I can feel how close we are to something special. Arsenal are 9 points clear in the Premier League, but they're in the middle of a brutal 15-game sprint. Balancing a title charge with a European quarter-final requires more than just talent. It requires elite squad management. Sporting, on the other hand, are the ultimate wildcards. They just overturned a 3-goal deficit against Bodo Glimt. They are dangerous, unpredictable, and fueled by that Alvalade atmosphere. But here's the question. Does emotion ever really beat elite-level structure over 2 legs? This is where things change for this Arsenal squad. Usually the answer is no. Now we know about the goals and the flashy wingers, but why is the absence of one specific Sporting midfielder actually the biggest threat to Arsenal's defensive record? We are about to dive into that central mystery. Mortain Hjulmand is officially suspended for this first leg. To the casual observer, that's just one player. To an analyst, that is a catastrophic structural failure for Rui Borges. Hjulmand isn't just a ball winner, he is the coordinator. He tells that back 3 when to step up and when to drop. He's the safety net. Without him, Sporting's 3-4-3 risks becoming disjointed. When you lose your captain and your tactical heartbeat, you don't just lose a player, you lose your composure. But this is where everything shifts. This creates an immediate tactical shift. Sporting will likely be forced to start Hidden Mass and Morita in a deeper, more restricted role than he likes. Morita is a fine footballer, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't have Hjulmand's innate sense of positioning. This creates a soft zone in the middle of the pitch, roughly 20 yards in front of the Sporting centre-backs. Now, if you're Mikel Arteta, who do you want in that space? Exactly, Martin Ødegaard. If the captain is pass fit, he will spend 90 minutes in that vacuum, picking passes that bypass the Sporting midfield entirely. I do have a slight lingering doubt about his match sharpness after the layoff, but even if he's only fit for the bench, having Martin Zubimendi and Declan Rice gives Arsenal a level of midfield supremacy Sporting simply cannot match right now. But let's get into the deep tactical reveal that most people are missing, the informer factor. When Arsenal signed Victor Gyökeres in 2025, they bought more than just 16 goals. They bought the blueprint. Gyökeres spent years training against Ousmane Diomande and Gonçalo Inácio. He knows exactly how much space Diomande leaves when he steps out. Think about that for a second. Arsenal haven't just scouted Sporting, they have integrated the one man who knows their weaknesses better than anyone. This is the tactical edge that wins trophies, and I'll break down how Arteta plans to exploit this in a moment. Arteta doesn't need video clips, he just needs to listen to his starting striker in the dressing room. There is, however, a critical turning point we have to address, the Eberechi Eze variable. With Eze likely out for a month with that calf injury, Arsenal lose their chaos factor. Does that hurt them in the Premier League? Maybe, but in Europe, it actually forces Arsenal into a more stable, controlled setup. It's less heavy metal and more clinical operation. This stability is exactly what you want when travelling to a stadium as loud as the Alvalade. It makes you harder to beat. My professional opinion here, it's maturity over magic. In 2024, it was a chaotic 5-1 basketball game. Today, Arteta demands control. I expect Arsenal to utilise a disciplined mid-block. By sitting slightly deeper, they bait Sporting's wing-backs into leaving 40 yards of grass behind them. That is the invitation Gabriel Martinelli and Bukayo Saka are waiting for. If Sporting overextend, Arsenal will punish them before the Portuguese side even realises they've lost the ball. This is a strategy built on cold, hard logic, and I'll show you the ripple effect this has on the rest of the season in a second. The biggest season impact here is massive. We are talking about a potential triple crown. A dominant first leg performance in Lisbon allows Arteta to rotate against Southampton in the FA Cup. If they struggle and have to go full strength in the return leg, they risk a physical collapse in late April. This game isn't just about the Champions League, it's about protecting the entire season. Control is the currency of champions. So what are the scenarios? You have the kill the tie scenario where Gyökeres scores early and Arsenal pass the ball into submission for 70 minutes. Then you have the Alvalade cauldron where Sporting find a way to feed Luis Suarez on the counter. But looking at the data, scenario 1 is far more like this Arsenal defence. Saliba and Gabriel is the most feared unit in Europe. They don't panic, they don't beat themselves. As we wrap this up, just remember, in 2024, Sporting were the nightmare Arsenal couldn't wake up from. In 2026, the roles have reversed. Arsenal have become the monster under Sporting's bed. This isn't about revenge. It's about the clinical evolution of a team that has learned how to win on the big stage. The absence of Hjulmand is the crack in the door, and I expect Mikel Arteta to kick it wide open. It's a massive night ahead, and I want to know what you're thinking. Do you think the Gyökeres homecoming is enough to settle this in the first leg, or are you still wary of that Lisbon atmosphere? Drop your score predictions in the comments and let's get the debate going. Would you like me to look up the final confirmed starting lineups and any last-minute bench changes for the Gunners once they are announced closer to kick-off?